On my Travel Wins podcast, I get to speak with Mike Afromowitz. Mike is the Senior Vice President of Communications and Operations for the largest Hispanic MMA organization in the world called Combate Americas. Combate Americas has been in business now for several years, really trying to explore the Hispanic and Latino markets for mixed martial arts. They have some exciting events coming up. The next one will be mid-September in Phoenix, Arizona. And then at the end of September, they'll be in Long Beach at the Walter Pyramid on the campus of Cal State Long Beach. Mike's background with MMA started with the K1 organization, then the Strikeforce organization, and now with Combate Americas. Mike gives great insight on what it's like to have to travel for work, flying from the East Coast to the West Coast, and sometimes even down into Mexico to Cancun, Monterrey, Tijuana. Wherever they have fights, he has to go, get it set up, control everything, work with a travel coordinator, and all the other pieces that make a promotion come together. So I want to thank Mike for his time. If you get a chance, go to combateamericas.com. You get to look up fighter profiles, the upcoming cards, and buy tickets to the events. So here's my talk with Mike Afromowitz.
Mike's the Senior Vice President of Operations and Communications for Combate Americas.
Yes, I am.
Did I say that correct? Combate Americas?
Yes, you did. Good. Nice work. Yes.
It's all my years of living in Southern California.
There you go. That's right. That's our home.
Yeah, it seems to be a real hotbed for you. I know you've had a couple promotions in LA, and you got one coming up in Long Beach.
Yeah. We've done a lot of events there actually. So I've we've been to downtown LA. We've been to Burbank. We're now going to Long Beach. We've been to other parts of Southern California like Redlands, Ventura. So we've been all around. LA we consider it our home in the U.S. for live events. It's the number one Univision market, and it's been really good to us. It's obviously a major media market, so well as a top Hispanic market, which is it's perfect for our product, our target audience. So it's we're looking forward to being back on September 28th.
Yeah, actually, it's going to be at the Walter Hall.
Walter Pyramid. They just call it the Pyramid. It's on the Long Beach State campus.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to try and get to that one.
Good, great. I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, as an MMA fan, I always appreciate the like for me, the UFCs that I've gone to, I make sure I go to the 4 o'clock. I want to see the undercard.
Yeah. So, the fights that we have, we say MMA now stands for mucha más acción. It's no longer mixed martial arts. We coined that phrase just because our fights, our fighters, they typically come from a different background, boxing and just stand-up fighting, and they really go for it right out of the gates. These are, a lot of them are hungry young guys and girls with, that have a lot to prove and are making their way up. So when you have that type of fighter, you tend to see a different result in La Jaula, which is, what we call our cage.
Do you look at Combate as a feeding ground for the larger organizations?
No, absolutely no.
You're your own standalone, right?
Yeah, we're our own standalone. I mean, we're one of only two, MMA franchises with distribution on broadcast television in addition to the cable. So, Univision has full market penetration. We have full market penetration in Mexico with Azteca. So, there's no reason that we would, build fighters up and send them elsewhere.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
No, your numbers are huge right now.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's taken a while to get to the point where we've been able to enjoy, the distribution that we have, but, there's clearly, an appetite for it with our target market. We're, we've gone after a market that, maybe others just really haven't reached or just, have stayed away from. But, the U.S. Hispanic demographic and as well as Latin America, originally we founded this to embrace, U.S. Hispanic. Now it's become a global movement. So that, it's, feeding the appetite of an audience that, is
underserved,
very underserved and, historically very, very passionate about combat sports.
Oh, yeah. Sports in general almost.
Mm-hmm.
I guess soccer's not considered a combat sport unless it's a World Cup.
No, but it's considered a religion, I think.
Yeah. Like I said, I've lived in Southern California for the last 40-plus years.
Wow. Okay.
So
it's a beautiful place.
Well, I guess my question is to you is you're based in New York,
right? Outside of New York, yes. From New York originally.
Yeah, New York State, not necessarily the city, but
No, I lived in the city for over 11 years. So kind of, consider myself a New York City guy. Didn't grow up there, but lived there for over 11 years, and then moved to Connecticut 7 years ago. Still miss the city. Love it. Love everything about it. But the weather is nowhere like what you have. So you beat us badly when it comes to weather.
My daughter went to college back in outside of Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh,
and she had some wonderful video text messages to me.
I bet from the snow.
Yeah, I'm like, she got back from Christmas break after a nor'easter about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And she goes, my car's on 4 feet of snow, and I go,
yeah.
She goes, what do I do?
I don't know how people from the West Coast do that. Come to school or live out east after living. I don't know how they get acclimated. So I give her credit because I would not be able to do that.
Well, now she goes, what do I do? I said, shovel.
Shovel.
I texted her, shovel. That's it. That's all you got to do.
That's all you can do because it might not melt in the next few days.
Exactly. So with being based in New York or Connecticut, how much traveling are you doing for your promotion now?
It's really monthly. It could be, there could be some notice, or it could be, I could get a call or that, today or tomorrow that requires me to go to Mexico later this week for a very important meeting. So, right. But frequency-wise, we're doing 2 events per month now. In some months, we break for we broke for the summer because of World Cup. You could even try to compete for attention with World Cup. Now that's over. August is never a great month for live events. For the most part, or at least in this space. So we will be back on in September, and we'll probably be. We have a minimum of 5 events scheduled right now on the books for the second half of the year. Potentially adding a 6th in December. So we'll have 2 events. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no. Do you get to travel to all the events? Are you?
Yeah, I have to. It's part of, you have to be on the ground several days in advance, in market. We always need boots on the ground. In fact, we're sending a team now or this week to Phoenix, which will be the site of the first event, for the second half of this year, which we're calling season 2, 2 weeks before we go to Long Beach.
How do you like the traveling?
I like it. It's I'd say I'm not, a traveling enthusiast, but I look at it as like I have a mission, and I need to get to that each destination in order to fulfill that mission. It's not like a hobby traveling. I don't like airport traffic, and that's not for me. Thank God for smartphones because they can at least keep you busy. I actually just got approved for global entry, but I just haven't been able to get to an appointment where I can fill out, go for the interview and get it done. But I need to do that so I can start avoiding the lines and avoiding some of the congestion.
I have a couple friends that have global entry. They go down to Mexico for
nice.
boot production.
Nice.
They swear by global entry. They would never travel.
Yeah,
without
I can't blame them. Yeah, no, soon I'm going to be very happy when I, finally get to do that. That interview because it's
make that
painful.
appointment, my friend.
Yeah, no, I know. So that's my take on travel.
Yeah, and because your previous job was working for Strikeforce, and before that was K1.
Right.
And similar travel. Strikeforce was based in San Jose.
Right. Yeah, I never moved there. I always stayed out east, and then traveled for the events and for when necessary for meetings. But similar to the way it is now, except with this business with Combate, and us having a separate whole other business in Mexico, as well as the U.S. The travel is becoming even more frequent.
Yeah, and that's why I was really excited to talk to you because for me, I'm a traveling sales rep. I work for a clothing manufacturer, and my territory is California, Hawaii, and then I get to travel around.
Hawaii is nice.
Hawaii's not bad. You should do an event over there.
I would love to, but I don't know.
Doesn't hit your market.
Yeah, it doesn't. Although that could certainly change. But Yeah, we're considering it for Strikeforce. It never happened, and logistically, cost becomes an issue with TV trucks and it's at one point Hawaii was a hotbed for MMA. They had some good grassroots promotions. BJ Penn's brother was doing something, Rumble on the Rock, and it's considered sort of like a landmark for the early days of MMA. It was popular. There's TJ, Super Brawl they had, and they had a bunch of smaller promotions.
Henzo fought BJ over there.
Yeah, I think, or BJ fought. I almost actually went to one of BJ's fights there. It was a K1 promoted fight, but I wound up not going. And there were some memorable fights, and a lot of fighters, their careers were spawned there. So it definitely has a lot of history.
Well, I think I think you're right on spot with Mexico and even Latin America being. I mean, Hawaii's a couple small islands, and look at the great fighters they've had. And if Mexico in the Hispanic market, which is a strong boxing.
Right. Yeah. Mexico's exciting. It's really growing there, and we're finding a lot of young talent that some of whom are raw, but they're really they're hungry. So I look at the way MMA is in Mexico and Latin America. It's sort of like where MMA was here in 2005, right before it exploded when The Ultimate Fighter got on the air. Yeah. That's the state that it's in right now, I think, in Mexico and Latin America. So it's a very exciting time. The talent we're finding in these territories it's phenomenal, and it all kind of it rolls into our country versus country format, and that culminates in the Copa every year. Well, we just started last year, the Copa, but going forward we're going to be holding the Copa each year, and so when you're able to pluck these young talents from places like Mexico and in South America, it's really exciting when you discover them, and you bring them up from their you give them their start.
Well, even a lot of the Mexican Americans that are here, Southern California,
absolutely,
Arizona, Texas,
absolutely, we found a lot of them, and guys like Froggy Estrada, who's in Oxnard. It's like if we weren't doing Combate, we may have never found these fighters.
Yeah.
So it's exciting stuff. That's sort of what one of my passions is. That's why I'm kind of drawn to this business, is to be able to find new talent and and harvest them.
Now, how difficult? I would imagining most of the fighters like that are going to fight in Long Beach are probably local, but some have to come from out of town. Do you guys have to manage their travel,
Absolutely,
or do they do that on their own?
Yeah, we have a travel coordinator dedicated to that, Monica Strupp. She's awesome. So we brought her on about a year and a half ago once, our business started to really pick up. Actually, I think it was early last year. Time goes by fast, but so travel, that's a whole job in itself that we have. And that's like as you get closer to the event and right after the event, it's like a 24/7 job because of just imagine you got 50, 60, 70 flights out that are out there, and so it's nutty, but we have a great travel coordinator for that.
You guys handle the hotels or just the flights?
Yeah, hotels too. Well, at least the hotel is brick and mortar; it stays in one place. Whereas airplanes are, they're all over the place with different airlines. So, but we work with hotels in each market.
One of the I guess operational questions I'd like to ask is, if a fighter misses weight or can't fight,
sure,
you guys still have to. I mean, you're still obligated to pay for
the opponent,
their travel.
Well, they don't wait until they come into market. So usually we get a better sense of their weight once they touch down. After they check in, we do an unofficial, a weight check. But if they don't make weight, they can still fight if the opponent's willing to, as long as the weight is within a certain spread. And then they negotiate. Maybe the fighter that didn't make weight, gives over, 20. It depends on athletic commission, and then it also depends on the negotiations between the two fight camps. So the fight can still happen. It just really depends on how far off the fighter is and what the two camps want to do between them.
And if the guy gets injured, I mean, Combate still out the money they put up to put up their whole training team. Right?
We don't pay for their training camp, but we'll incur costs still. because, we have their travel, depending on how far out the fighter gets hurt. So, it really just depends on, it's all, it just depends on the circumstance, really. How far out
I remember when Ken Shamrock got hurt warming up for the fight.
Oh, that is like, so that right there is probably a promoter's one of the worst nightmares that you could have. So that's a whole different, warming up back. I mean, that's like 1 in 10 million, and let alone about to go on the air on CBS, broadcast television. I couldn't believe when that happened. Where was I when that happened? I was in Denver when that happened, and for a Strikeforce fight, we did we had an event at the time, I think it was the Pepsi Arena, and we had our fight, and I think it was the night after, that fight took place the night after our fight, and I think that I was still in town in Denver, and at the time it was my girlfriend, eventually we got married, but we were in a restaurant, and my old boss, who I started Strikeforce with, texted me, you want to know what happened in the Kimbo fight? Because, Seth Petrozelli takes place. I said yes, because I just wasn't around to watch it live. And he said, you got knocked out in 12 seconds. Wow. So I couldn't believe that. That
was unreal.
Yeah. So, but they were lucky. I mean, they were lucky to even find a fighter that could get licensed to replace him. And knocked out.
And then to knock him out. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe not too lucky, actually, in hindsight, because that led to another thing, that led to another thing, that led to the Seth Petrozelli interview, and that was not too good for the company. So it was probably bad that Seth stepped up.
Yeah, good and bad, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's what led to, eventually Strikeforce being able to partner with Showtime, which was very fortunate.
Well, I mean, you've been in the business for about 16, 17 years now?
Yes. Yeah, a long time.
And, I mean, that's a forever time in MMA.
Yes.
I mean, the changes you've seen.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Yeah, with now being married, how do you balance the work life, when you have to tell your wife, hey, I'm gone for a week, I'm going to Phoenix, or I'm going to Monterey, or I'm going to Tijuana, or I'm going to Sacramento?
Yeah, it's not always easy. She works too, and it's there's child care involved. It would be a lot easier, it'd be much simpler, I should say, if there was no such thing as a family life. But it's definitely that's a whole job in itself, is being able to balance everything. So, at the end we figure it out. But it's not easy.
Communication, and for my wife and I, it's having a date night.
Right, there you go. Yeah.
Once a week. If I'm home, it's once a week minimum.
Some good advice you just gave me.
Years of experience.
Sure. Yeah. No, it's good advice.
And for us, both my daughters have graduated college, so they're out on their own work and doing all that. But when I started, they were both in high school, and it's a lot of juggling. Yeah,
it is. So, but you you want to get something done, you get it done, you figure it out. It's not easy, but you have to figure it out.
There are a lot of people that MMA is a fan sport, and a lot of fans would love to make their job or career in the sport. How did you get started? I mean,
honestly,
17 years ago, MMA was.
Yeah, it was in its infancy. It was a really coincidence. What happened was my background was, I was getting started in the music industry, and I competed in sports, for a long time, and I played actually in college. I competed, in varsity, in NCAA tennis, but I came from a martial arts background. My father was a black belt, and he competed in, in his time it was karate and judo. He got me into it at an early age, but I kind of, digressed, and I went in my own direction. Eventually, fell in love with competitive tennis, and I played through college. But after that, I said to myself, I have nothing to do. With how do I stay in shape? And my dad says, get into Jeet Kune Do. He's like, it doesn't have all the traditional katas, and it's just basically you're learning, how to fight. And so I did it, and I loved it, and I went to a fight, a small kickboxing fight, and I said to myself, I was just watching the energy of the crowd, and I was like, this could be huge. And then at the time, K1 was just starting to come to America, so I got Scott Coker's contact through, mutual contact, and we connected. And back then it was very easy to connect with anyone, Everybody, it was like, and people just, the few people that were trying to, build the movement, just, looking for help. So we just connected. I had a background also in journalism, and so I was able to, help build storylines and also to, generate publicity and, produce content for editorial content for the web. And so, he needed somebody to start telling stories about the fighters that were fighting in these tournaments. Otherwise, nobody cares, They're just bodies, So, we just started building a relationship, and I got more and more kind of, sucked in and immersed in this thing. And as time went on, a few years went by, MMA was about to be legalized in California, and we had always stayed, in the kickboxing world because we were passionate about K1. Japan was giving us an opportunity to bring this great sport to U.S. fans, but with MMA about to be, legalized in California, he held the longest, standing license in combat sports in California. So we were able to leapfrog the UFC and do this fight, between Frank Shamrock and Cesar Gracie, who had they had a long-standing grudge. So it was everything came together. Yeah, and we actually sold out the Shark Tank, the HB Pavilion, where the Sharks play. San Jose Sharks, 18,265 people. It was a record at the time for North America. It was unbelievable to look up in into the nosebleed section. Every seat was full. I mean, there were people actually being turned away, because Kung Lee fought that night too. He made his MMA debut, and he had he had legions of Vietnamese American fans coming in. They were, but a lot of them, he said, he was saying, like, after the fight, they got turned away. There were no more tickets. So it's amazing. I mean, it's like we could have had, potentially 20,000 people there if the arena allowed for it. So that was, long story short, that was our entry into MMA. And from there, it just, we continued down that path. As K1 just they went through some difficulties. We moved away from that and just moved, completely into the MMA format, eventually going into business with Showtime and CBS.
It's kind of a loaded question, I guess. Mm-hmm. Why do so many organizations that have tried to compete against Zuffa and the UFC, or used to be Zuffa, World Series of Fighting, K1, Strikeforce was bought by the UFC. Mm-hmm. If they got too big, they ended up buying that. Bellator's doing a pretty good job, and you guys are like I said, your numbers are huge in the Latino market. Mm-hmm. So do you see it as now is the opportunity for other organizations to really grow?
It really depends. You have to have, one thing I learned from our chairman, who's a great man, and he's a figure you look up to. He's a tycoon, Joe Plumeri. Is you need a point of difference. It's like if you don't have a point of difference, then there's no sense in what's the point of really starting another organization to be just to compete with UFC. It's like when we started Strikeforce, it was like we wanted to be their Pepsi to their Coke, but we had years and years of experience at that point, combined years of experience in combat sports. So we were able to do it because we had relationships that were able to trigger our ability to essentially compete. But that was a different time back then. At this stage in the game, UFC is way more mature. You really need a point of difference. And what we've established here with Combate is I think is a really strong point of difference. And that's what I would say. Trying to reinvent the wheel and maybe do teams and fight. This is an individual sport. It's just like in tennis, world team tennis never made it because it's an individual sport. There's certain sports that are team sports. There's other sports that are individual sports. I got into this as well as tennis because of individual sports. That's just sort of my personality. I just gravitated towards that. So don't try to reinvent the wheel without having a real point of difference.
I think your Copa thing's kind of cool though because it's almost like a Ryder Cup.
Yeah, it's exciting. And wait till you see this cup. Oh man, I'm giving you some scoop here, but wait till you see this cup we're producing. Oh, this is something that I'd fight for. If I was young enough still, I would want to fight for this cup. I mean, it's just it's a thing of beauty. We're going to unveil it. It's not even finished yet, but just the photos and sketches. Oh, it's just beautiful.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And like I said, it still makes it an individual sport, but having the camaraderie
right
of the country.
Right. You're fighting for your country. It's like what better? I mean, you're fighting for your family. You're fighting for your country. I mean, it's just it's so awesome. I mean, to have the opportunity to represent your country and be the one fighter in that tournament representing your country, it's just it's something very special. And to come out after winning 3 fights and with the grand prize, it's just, I mean, that's just like it's a game changer for certain young fighters.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's all about. To me, it's always been about the fighters. I mean, some of my I used to run into the tap out guys when they were selling their T-shirts and hats at the jiu-jitsu tournaments around here.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. We ran into one of them. His name was Dan. They called him Punk Ass.
Punk Ass, yeah.
Yeah, so he was at our fight in Redlands. Our chief revenue officer is friendly with him from our chief revenue officer is the one that brought the Harley and Anheuser-Busch Bud Light deals to the UFC. He used to be their lead sponsorship guy. So he knows Punk Ass and the Tap Out crew from back in the day, and he brought him to our fight in Redlands. So yeah. So that's like it's nostalgic. Those guys are part of history, just like Campbell McLaren, our CEO, is. He was a co-founder of the UFC.
Yep.
And having the ability to meet him 5-6 years after I co-founded Strikeforce was a great thing, because we were able to start Combate together, and it was his idea. But when he told me about it, I was excited. I'm growing up in New York, and I understand how influential and important the Hispanic community is, and I saw it right off the bat. I knew this thing could really take off.
So how do you go when you go after sponsorships? Do you go after Latino specific companies, Dos Equis or those type of companies, or do you go for anybody? That's
general market, as we're about to announce at least a couple of brand sponsors that you would know, and we go after companies that are looking to engage with these heavily sought after but tough to reach U.S. Hispanic millennial market. And then separately, we have a business in Mexico, because we're on broadcast and digital as well. We have distribution in Mexico. We go after companies that are seeking also to reach millennial Hispanics in Mexico. So the short answer is that it doesn't have to be Hispanic companies. It could be companies that are looking to
penetrate that market.
Yes, exactly.
I got you.
You can't ignore it. I mean,
I work in the Western industry.
Yeah.
I sell cowboy boots and jeans.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Shirts.
Oh.
And I got my start because of Punk Ass.
Oh, really? Oh,
I wanted to become an apparel rep, and I went out to their office. This was I think it was just before Charles died, and I just went out there. I'm like, hey, I know you're not looking to hire, and I got the brush off at the front desk. And then as I was leaving, Punk Ass was going in, and I sat and asked him. I said, hey, I'm looking to get started as an apparel rep. What advice do you have? He goes, I don't know. He goes, I got lucky.
Yeah, there is luck involved.
He goes, don't stop working.
Yeah, he's right.
I ended up becoming a rep for One More Round Clothing.
Okay, One More Round.
Yeah.
I know. What was who owns that? Maybe I'm confusing it with another.
No, it's the one. They used to sponsor some fighters, and they sponsored Stitch, Duran.
Yeah.
And then
I know the name.
Yeah, and then it got licensed out, and then I worked for the licensee, and I was selling to small gyms, and I knew some of the fighters because of my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background. So
okay.
And then we ended up sponsoring Rafael Cavalcante
Sure, yeah, he fought for us in Strikeforce.
It was the Strikeforce fight that we
okay.
sponsored him for.
Yeah, I remember the brand very well. But what he said to you, don't stop working, is right, because it's like if you take your eye off the ball for a minute here, no matter what segment of the marketplace you're in, whether it's apparel or talent or live events, it's like you could miss an opportunity. So that kind of what he's told you kind of resonates with me, and just
I was gonna say that's kind of your same deal. I mean, you didn't go out planning to be an MMA vice president, but here you are.
Yeah, it's you just if you're passionate about it, it'll drive you to be on 24/7. It's just because you have to really care about it, and that's just me for whatever reason. I don't even know why, to be honest, but it's just maybe it's my personality. I love the product, and it's just it's a huge part of my life. So I'm on always thinking. Even when I'm sleeping, I feel like I'm thinking, and it's hard to sleep past a certain time because and I'm not a morning person, but I just start thinking. I start getting ideas in my head. So
I'm the same way. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
Talking to people if you would have told me when I graduated high school I'd be selling cowboy boots for a living, I'd laugh at you.
Right, yeah, same here. I would have never, never believed there wasn't really MMA. I remember being in college, I was sitting on my friend's couch watching old UFCs. At the time I was watching, I was into watching Roy, I always loved boxing. I mean, even though I was a tennis player, but I love sports in general. But I loved watching Roy Jones Jr., how smooth he was, and then I watched these, Hoist Gracie, and I was like, this is interesting. Little did I know, I would meet the guy that started it all these years later. So it's like you would never, at that time I would have never thought that I'd be involved. And meeting the guy that started it all, working with him. So
did you ever train with Dan Insanto?
Yeah, no, you know what? I wish. No, I never did. I wish. I trained with Joe Maffei and up in Boston near my school, Brandeis University, right after I graduated. And then I moved back to New York, started getting into Muay Thai, and then traditional Muay Thai under a 7-time world champion from Lupini Stadium. And that was very interesting. I got into the best shape of my life for time. So that was a real time that I remember. And, I learned what conditioning was really about, physical conditioning. I've never seen anything like a Muay Thai regimen. I don't think anything else exists out there that's like it. If I had that when I was competing in tennis, I would have been a whole different player.
Yeah, it's always it's the God. If I only wish I would have known. Kind of sort of should have.
Live and learn, as they say.
Yeah, well, that's Dan Insanto is a super nice guy, by the way.
I wish I had trained.
He's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt under the Machados.
I'd love to invite him to the event in Long Beach if he could make it out. It would be an honor to meet him.
He's in Venice, so.
Well, I don't know if you speak to him. I'd love to invite him.
I'll talk to my old instructor.
I'd love to meet him. Be an honor.
I'll see if I can set something up.
Sure,
I don't know him.
Otherwise, we can reach out. But I'd love to meet him. Yeah, it'd be an honor.
Yeah, I mean, it's like when I used to, I didn't spar with Hoist, but he was my instructor and he would show me stuff, and he's like, go ahead and do this, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that against you. He goes, no, you'll be fine.
Right, right.
It's like training with Dan Insanto, and you're like, he was Bruce Lee's.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. That's I loved Jeet Kune Do the minute I stepped on the mat, and it was awesome.
Yeah. Well, hey, looking forward to. What's the best way for fans or people that would be interested to find Combate?
We go on CombateAmericas.com. It's combat with an E at the end, America with an S like Sam at the end. CombateAmericas.com. All it means is the Fighting Americas. That's Americas with an S at the end. It's because we're
North
America, we're Latin America. So, or you can go to Facebook.com/CombateAmericasOfficial, and Twitter and Instagram are at Combate Americas. So,
I'll put those links in the bio too.
Appreciate it. I look forward to meeting you in Long Beach.
Yeah, maybe I'll shoot you a text when I get to the arena or whatever.
Please do. Yeah, let's stay in touch in the meantime.
Okay. Hey, Mike, I really appreciate
Thanks, Steve.
the time,
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.